Ashe greetings, grand rising, grand and beautiful day, and peace and goodwill to you all once again, my fellow natural native earthly humans. Yes, you, the earth's organic humans. You, the soulful humans, humans with soul the world over. And welcome to this part 6 in the series of my lecture presentations titled Redemption from the Curse of the B-Lock Spell Revisited. I am yours truly. Yes, this is yours truly, I, the Mystic Philosopher. And many thanks for stopping by and giving up your time to be listening and possible to be provoked into re-examining some of your long-held beliefs and maybe to think of things or to see a few things a little differently. Now, if you haven't yet watched or listened to part 1 of this series through to part 5, and in that order, hopefully, I ask that you please do so before going forward with this part 6, or that you please do so at your earliest convenience. This part 6 is the continuation, the continuation of where I left off in part 5. And so, by watching or listening to these, my presentations, in the order in which they are done, and especially if you are a free, deep, critical, and analytical thinker, you will be able to get a much deeper and a better understanding and overstanding of some of the unique thought-provoking ideas, insights, and perspectives that I am sharing on the many different topics and subjects that I will cover throughout the duration of this series titled Redemption from the Curse of the B-Lock Spell Revisited. Now, in the last lecture, part 5, we learn from looking at and from dissecting and decoding the power of the word that we are all connected and interconnected, meaning we are all part of a whole or part of the whole. And one of the basic lessons that those of us that are awakened and enlightened, or at the very least those of us that are being awakened from and are being enlightened about the curse of the B-Lock spell and the hypnotic trance that the B-Lock spell has befalls us, is that to hurt, what we have learned is that to hurt another fellow human is to hurt our own individual self. To hate another fellow human is to hate our own individual self. To love another fellow human, is to love our own individual self, and so forth, and so on. Simply put, whatever we do to others, we are literally and spiritually, I might add, doing to our own individual self. And the second lesson that we may learn, or that we may take away from part 5, is that we use words to manipulate at least one of the 5 classical elements, namely the classical element called air, to build up each other. We use words to manipulate the classical element called air to do what? To build up each other or to tear down each other. We use it to love each other or to hate each other, to criticize each other or to do good to each other or to do evil to each other. Words, yes, that's how powerful they are. We use them to manipulate the air. We learned that in part 5. And for those of you, my listeners, that may have never heard of the 5 classical elements, or you might need to be reminded of what they are, let me quickly name them for you. They are earth, air, water, fire, and ether. So far in the previous lessons, we have seen and we have understand and overstand how we use words to manipulate the classical element called air, or some say wind, or it can be either air or wind, to positively or to negatively impact each other, and by extension to positively or negatively impact the world around us. Now later I will talk some more about the other four classical elements, namely the other four: earth, water, fire, and the ether, and what they symbolize. I will talk about them later. Stay tuned. What they symbolize. I will talk about their spiritual meaning and how we may use words to manipulate them for our good, or for balance, or for evil as well. Now, let us now quickly look at the significance of the power of word. The significance and power of the word, and by extension, words, in some of the ancient cultures, in some of the ancient traditions, writings, or ancient scriptures, etc. Let us now look at some of that. Now, the ancient philosophers, prophets, mystics, sages, theologians, and scribes from all historical cultures, traditions, civilizations, religions, and tribes have left us several recordings in which they pointed out the great importance and significance of the word, and by extension, words, in their lives, and by extension, the importance and significance of words in our lives and in our relationships with each other. And one such culture and remarkable civilization is the Babylonian civilization, or the Babylonian culture. And to add some more proof that I am to what I'm talking about, here is a quote from an article titled "The Power of Words, Babylonian Spells Explained," and it is from a website called babylonian.mythologyworldwide.com. And I quote, "The Babylonian civilization, one of the most influential cultures in ancient Mesopotamia, flourished between the 18th and the 6th century BCE in what is now Iraq. Renowned for its advancements in various fields such as astronomy, mathematics, and law, Babylon was also a center of rich mythology and religious practices. Central to Babylonian beliefs system was the profound significance of language and spells, which were considered vital tools for interacting with the divine and manipulating the world around them." Unquote. Now I ask that you please note that according to the historical record, that this site and the author of this article bears witness to, the ancient Babylonian civilization, was not a civilization, it was not a culture, a society, or a people that was seen as and looked down on by Westerners and others as being uncivilized, as being as being ignoramuses, as being illiterate, as being unsophisticated, as being backward, as being primitive, you name it. Which is how these Westerners, the Westerners, and other, I might add, normally see, described, referred to, and address my African ancestors, and by extension us, their ascendants today. But that the Babylonian civilization, was one of the most influential cultures in ancient Mesopotamia, and one that was renowned for its advancements in various fields such as astronomy, mathematics, and law. Babylon was also a center of rich mythology and religious practices. However, central to their belief systems was the profound significance of language and spells. And why? Some of you might ask. It was and still is because language and spells were considered vital tools for interacting with the divine and for manipulating the world around them. And for your information, that has not changed, and that cannot change. Now, among these many recordings, and one that is the most common among Westerners, is the ancient Hebrew scriptures, for which translations are to be found in the Adamic Race History and Holy Book that is commonly called the Christian Holy Bible. For example, in one of many translations of the Christian Bible, we are told that one of the earlier Hebrew scribes wrote, and I quote, "For in many things we offend all." Again, I quote, "For in many things we offend all. If any man offend not in word, the same is a perfect man, and able to bridle the whole body." Unquote. And in the book of Proverbs, that was taken from, by the way, James 3 and 2, King AKGV, American King James Version, I guess. Now, in the book called Proverbs 15 verse 1, again, as translated in the King James Version of the ancient Hebrew scriptures, we also read, and again I quote, "A soft answer turneth away wrath," or more correctly, or in today's language, "A soft answer turns away wrath, but grievous words stir up anger." Unquote. We also read in Proverbs 16 to verse 19 that there are 6 things that the Lord hates, and 7 is an abomination unto him. Among the first 6 things that he hates are a lying tongue, a false witness, the witness that speaks lies, again words, that from my perspective, the 7th and most deadly thing that the Lord hates, according to this translation, is that the Lord is hereby saying that he hates. And the one that is the most abominable to him, according to these scriptures again, is a person that sows discord among his or her brethren. Yes, the carrier bring come people that sow discord among his or her brothers and sisters or brethren. In other words, this scripture is saying that the thing that the Lord say that he hates is the person or the thing that cause or create disunity and confusion among people. Now, from my perspective, it is no fear to say that by reading these scriptures, we may interpret and understand that the most despicable thing that we are anyone can do to seriously and to destructively impact the natural native earthly human relationship is to sow any form of disharmony, again using words, any form of discord, disunity, or confusion among our fellow humans. In other words, most of us may agree that to sow mischief among our fellow natural native earthly humans is an abomination to both God, whomever or whatever we may believe or conceive him, it, or her to be, and our natural native earthly humans alike. At this point, I would also like to draw your attention to what I, the Mystic Philosopher, personally consider to be the most devastating and traumatic event to have ever been brought up on our natural native earthly humanity, and that event is recorded in one of the most important, though overlooked and misinterpreted scriptures, in in the Christian Holy Bible, the Adamic Race History and Holy Book. This is an event that, according to a much earlier Hebrew writer, took place some time ago. And as you may see, that if at all it is true and authentic, that event is true and authentic, then that event has had a very deadly and prolonged disastrous consequences. And that is to say the least, on the entire natural, native, earthly human race. Yes, our one natural, native, earthly human family. But I'm running out of time, so we'll continue right here. So this will be the end of part 6 of this series, titled The Redemption from the Curse of the Belak Spell Revisited. So please stay tuned for part 7, where we'll continue talking about this thing called words, thoughts, the universe, and by extension, the universes. In the meantime and between time, He is willing that you be more and more and much, much more, and definitely not be less. For I am the Mystic Philosopher. Ashe, 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 I say.